welcome to the Fantasy Wildcard DFS show. I'm Kev. The band is back together. We've got Mags, we've got Ali back from Trick or Treating. We are bringing you an absolute treat this week. Yes. Welcome to week 10 of the show. We're going to be looking at the main slate at DraftKings. We've been doing it every week this season. We've been bringing it big. We'll first come to Mags for his thoughts on last week. How are you doing, Mags?
Yeah, I was too good, Kev, basically. I predicted Lamar Jackson was going to absolutely smash it, and he did too well that he had to have a rest. So, these things happen. I actually learned quite a valuable lesson. In pretty much every lineup I had, I was so confident with Lamar Jackson, I could put him in everywhere. So that's a mistake. I won't be making again. Like we said, the first show, this is my first year doing this. I'm still learning. So that's a mistake I won't make again. I'm not having 100% ownership of anyone in any lineups again. I'll not do that again, for sure.
Love that, Mags, and welcome back, a familiar face, the lovely chap himself, Ali, the Grill, at FF Dynasty Grill. Ali, how you doing, man?
Hello, yeah, doing really, really good. Excited to be back on the show. You guys have been picking absolute fire the past 2 weeks. Had a really good DFS week, my second best of the season. Played all cash lineups. Apart from our little tournament, which I'm just biding my time on winning. Kev, you can have your glory now. But yeah, really excited to kick off week 10 in DFS, and let's just win people some money. So let's go.
Let's just win some money. I mean, like you said, I've won the last two money makers. It's been all about hitting at QB for me, and so that's something to look out for in tonight's show. No pressure on whoever's picking QB tonight, Max. Well, it's going to be key to the success. But before we dig into the deeper stuff, the spicy tournaments, we're going to give you the cool cash plays. Like I said, it's a great way to build your cash. You're playing against half the field, really. You just want to be better than half of the teams in that contest. You're looking for high weekly floors. You're looking for plays that are popular. So even if your play doesn't truly hit, if half the field have got him, it's absolutely fine. So obvious plays, popular plays, but ones that are actually going to hit as well. So cash lineups, cash QBs, Mags, what are you saying?
Yep, give me CJ Stroud 6,900. Right?
Nice.
He's coming in here versus Cincinnati Bengals. I think it's going to be a little bit of a shootout. I actually can't wait to see this. CJ Stroud coming off, the hottest week a rookie has ever had in the NFL. Why stop the fun? I think he's going to continue to smash and keep those yards piling up against the Bengals, who are looking more like their old selves, which is why my other pick is Joe Burrow from the same matchup. Joe Burrow actually $100 cheaper than CJ Stroud. So he actually might be the better of the two here. You're saving $100 and you're getting, by all accounts, I know Stroud is great and all. Joe Burrow's better quarterback than CJ Stroud at this current point in time anyway. So I'm happy to take Burrow plus that link with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, all those weapons that are starting to click up against the Houston Texans, who have looked better, but there's still questions to be answered there. So those two really stood out for me for your cash lineup. Seems pretty safe. Probably be owned quite highly as well. So those two stood out for me.
Yeah, you smashed it with Stroud. Just he's going to be on everybody's mind after that record-breaking week he had as QB1 last week. Absolutely smashed it. And yeah, I think you did something similar last week, Max, where you picked two guys from the same one. Maybe was it Lamar and Geno? So we're hoping for a bit of a different result in terms of the game itself becoming a shootout and a bit close, a bit more back and forth. But yeah, I think both are going to be really popular, and that's all you want in cash. Popular plays, good prices, happy days. Speaking of happy days, speaking of Joe Burrow and the Bengals, we're going to move to cash running back plays. Ali, what's your thoughts?
Well, surprise, surprise. I'm also picking from the matchup. So Joe Mixon, $6,200 versus the Houston Texans. And Joe Mixon is warming up nicely. This Bengals team that there is rumors that Jamar Chase could be injured with the comments that he's coming out with today. Hope he's not, but perhaps he is. So anyway, Joe Mixon the past 2 weeks, really tough, but he had a big game against the 49ers, really tough run defense. He followed up last week with another nice performance against the Buffalo Bills. So 2 tough matchups. He's now coming to an absolute cake of a matchup against the Texans. The Bengals are favored by a touchdown, so you love the running backs in them situations. He's getting the workload. He's averaging 74% snap percentage this season. You only got to look at last week. Rashad White was the running back one, had his best game of the year last week against the Texans in a shootout. I think with or without Jamar Chase, this game has the ability to be a shootout. So I want every piece. And Joe Mixon at 6,200, absolutely love that for cash. And then my other play is a guy that I've just mentioned, Rashad White, 5,800, even cheaper against the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, just mentioned he was the number one running back in fantasy this past week and running back 3 over the past 3 weeks. So running back 9 in points per game, and he's the running back 11 on the season. He is a workhorse back for the Buccaneers right now, over 80% of the snaps the past 2 games. Keyshawn Vaughn and Chase Edmonds combined for negative yardage against the Texans. Absolutely pathetic. It's all Rashad White. Over the past month, there's only been 3 running backs that have seen more targets than Rashad White. Tampa Bay is also favored by 1.5 points. I just think that White's floor is so much higher now and really safe for cash. So at sub 6K, I think he's really affordable and someone that I want in all of my lineups.
Yeah, these are spot on. I think, first of all, the key thing is volume in cash running backs, and these are guys that are unquestioned leaders in the backfield. There's not much other than these guys. They're both 3-down players as well. I think Joe Mixon's price is probably one of the lowest I've ever seen, even though he's becoming sort of the Bears version of David Montgomery, getting a little bit buyout on volume, but we know that he has got a lot more talent than Montgomery, so apologies for that, Joe. Please don't give me a slap. And Rashad White, he's someone that at the weekend, my wife was actually watching Red Zone with me. She's like, oh, there's a guy there called White. You're called White. You could get his jersey. I'm like, nah, he's rubbish. And then he goes and has his best game ever. So yeah, apologies for that, Rashad. Long lost cousin of mine. So 2 great picks. I'm going to move on to the cash wide receivers now, and the sun is rising this week. He's had a week off. He's back now. I'm on Ra St. Brown, the sun god himself, 8,300. He's at the Chargers. I just think game environment's going to be spicy. I think he's going to be popular despite the higher price. Just someone that you can rely on every week. You know that he's going to get sort of a minimum of 7 receptions, 6-7 receptions, 50, 60 yards minimum. There's always a chance of a touchdown. Yeah, Goff is on the road, but it's in a dome, so he's tiny. Hands will be absolutely fine with that. And then a guy that's not got tiny hands at all, DeAndre Hopkins, he's my alternative pick. Facing Alice Bucks on the road, 6,000. Again, I think he's a steal from going against the defense. Nico Collins had a touchdown for the first time in a while. Tank Dell went pretty nuts as well. Someone that, Treylon Burks looking like he's going to be out. And we know that Hopkins, any given week, he's got that monster ceiling. We saw with Levis in his debut that he got those 3 touchdowns. So very excited for him. I'm not going to mention Kyle Phillips because that'll just get Mags going too much, and we don't want to be setting him off too early in the show tonight. So with that, we're going to move on to the flex spot. Anything you want to say, Kyle Phillips, before I get into your picks?
Oh no, we don't have time. Let's move on to another guy who I'm really excited about. I'm shocked. How is he still this cheap? $5,400 for Deontay Johnson. What are we doing? Right? He's come back, and the last 3 weeks he's been back, he's looked better and better and better. He's clearly the only guy in that offense that seems to be able to do anything of note. So I think he's just going to continue to get peppered with targets, and he's going to smash that value. I'm very sure of that. That's almost as close to a what do we say, Ali? A locked in bet, safest houses, locked in, surefire, guarantee, right? So Deontay Johnson, I think that's an easy play. Second one is just because you know it's going to piss people off, right? And you know he's probably who's going to smash against Arizona is Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier coming in at 4,700. We talked about it before on the Dynasty Show. Arthur Smith is the devil, and because of that, Tyler Algier is probably going to do quite well against Arizona, right?
Yeah, it's such a shame because I actually like Algier. I think in terms of what he does, if we look back to last season, I thought it was quite interesting, but I think it's because he's having this generation's golden balls that people have got a disdain to him. But he's going to get volume, whether we like it or not. He is going to get plenty of looks in that game against the Cardinals, who, yeah, they were in a bad way before the Pastranaut left, and they're in a worse way now with the roster. Maybe they'll get a bump back with Kyler and maybe James Conner, but we'll just have to see on that. And then Deontay Johnson, first touchdown in what seems like forever. He's the clear one over Pickens in my eyes still. So yeah, you got to love that. Packers are a decent side, but 5,400 it's pretty nice for your flex playing wide receiver. Speaking of pretty nice, we're going to go to cash tight ends. We're going to speak about a team who I had a little dabble in at the wide receiver spot. Who are you talking about first, Hallie?
Love it. Yeah, Sam Laporta, 5,700 at the LA Chargers. Love Sam Laporta. Love the matchup with the LA Chargers, and like the price at 5,700. The current tight end 4 in fantasy, coming off his bye and into this fantastic matchup. The Chargers have struggled absolutely mightily against the tight ends. They ranked 29th versus opposing tight ends. Tyler Conklin was even able to have a decent night last night, put up 60-odd yards for Zach Wilson. So you just know how bad they are at defending the tight end position. Obviously, Laporta has been amazing, broken the rookie tight end mold this year. Has at least 5 catches and 50-plus yards in all but 3 games he's played so far. I just think he possibly could go big in this game. Even if he doesn't go big, we're talking about cash here. I think the floor is very high, so he's safe. I think he's always going to be the first or second read to this high-flying Lions offense with Jared Goff. He absolutely loves him. This matchup could go big. It's a game that I'm targeting for DFS in the Dome. Absolutely love it. Second pick is Dalton Schultz at 4,900, so slightly cheaper at the Cincinnati Bengals. We've talked about this matchup already. Again, gave me nightmares because of how he performed at the weekend against my Buccaneers. And he's slowly putting together a really good fantasy season despite the really slow start he's had. He's actually the tight end 3, averaging 15.7 points per game since week 4. So that's quite a long stretch. Catching 4 touchdowns. Yeah, and it absolutely exploded at the weekend against my team. So spoke about Laporta's great matchup. This is actually on paper even better. The Bengals actually ranked dead last versus opposing tight ends. They are awful at covering the position. And then again, with no competition at tight end, I think Dalton Schultz is he led the team in receptions last week with 10. I just think, the situation is there again. The Bengals are going to put up points. CJ Stroud, they don't run the ball. He's going to have to throw an absolute ton. Yeah, I think with the Bengals favored by 7 points, Dalton Schultz is going to be there catching plenty of passes from CJ Stroud.
Yeah, again, 2 games which are going to be really popular high over-unders. You've got Sam Laporta, someone who's exceeded expectations, being so solid. I mentioned on the Dynasty Show last night that he's tight end 17 in his worst ever game this season. He's been a revelation, so no issues about what a pick. And then Dalton Schultz, what a pick. I'm going to try not to tip the table on Schultz. We might come on to him in a little bit, but he's done fantastic and he's got a great matchup. If it's a shootout like Mags predicted early on, which you might not have predicted, but I think I just have for him, then it's going to be really fruitful for Dalton Schultz, who I'll hold my hand up. I thought he was a product of the Cowboys and the sort of lack of volume there, but he's doing really well. Yeah, the weapons around him aren't amazing, but people like Dell, people like Collins, I think Dalton Schultz deserves a little pat on the back for what he's done so far this season. Now, we're going to move to cash, defense, and special teams. We just spoke about Schultz. We're going to go back to his old team, the Cowboys. Yes, the highest priced defense on the slate, 4,400, but they get to play the New York Giants and Danny DeVito. So I think it's going to be really fruitful for them to absolutely expose the fraud that he is. We're only kidding, Tommy. We know that it's going to be a tough day for you, and it's not your fault that you're in such a tough situation, but super popular. Of course, it's cash. You're going for a balanced lineup. I think you can get the Cowboys in there and be really confident they are the highest scoring defense and special teams in football. The alternative pick is someone really low down in the pricing, which might put people off this team, but the Cardinals, 2,500, they're playing the Falcons. I just think if it's Heineke, if it ends up turning to Ridder, there's errors in that team. I think 2,500. When I was looking at it on the DraftKings app, just literally look down the right hand side at the pass ranks and the offensive ranks, and you're looking for sort of the lowest that's green, because it was just a sea of red, really bad matchups, matchups. Oh, there's the Cardinals right near the bottom with an easier matchup. So I think people might be a little bit worried with it being the Cardinals, but yeah, pay down option should be popular if you're going wild at the spots. I kind of like it. So we're going to wrap up on cash. We're going to come to tournament play. So this is where we're getting a little bit spicy, looking for those ceiling plays, looking for getting a little bit different. So thinking about how you can build your stacks, how you can have bringbacks on the other side. You're trying to be number one in the contest, so you have to get unique. It's working for us because I know I take a lot of my picks from our show sheet that we do, and it's been working out in our smaller contest. It's just if you can build the bigger lineups and get a little bit different, we'll give you some ideas as to what to do. And first off, coming to QB, and Mags, what are the people going to do at QB?
Yeah, the first one I got like massively high ceiling here. It's Dak Prescott going up against, the sad remains of the New York Giants. He's 6,700, and I just think this team, it's got to be demoralizing, right? These guys have to be feeling it a little bit, and part of me just thinks the Cowboys might roll in and put an absolute number on them. The only thing that might pull us back is I'm a little bit hesitant after Lamar last week, and I think they might play so well that Dak might not fully be needed later on. That's the only thing that's pulling me back a little bit from that. And the second one, honey, I shrunk the QB. He's back. It's Kyler Murray returning against the Atlanta Falcons. You can get him for a cool 5,900. I think this is someone that people might not be willing to take a risk on, but Kyler's going to be back, and he's going to be wanting to put on a little bit of a show, I think. So he's well worth it in a tournament play.
Yeah, I think that the Cowboys are going to wallop the Giants however they want to do it. It's going to be their choice, really. And I think, the price on Dak's absolutely fine. He only has to get, 20 points, maybe 25 points, and it's been a smash play. So well within his range there. Very unlucky against the Eagles with a couple of really close calls to potentially put on a lot of points in that game. And he's been on a tear recently. And then Kyler Murray, 5,900 is wild. I know obviously he's not going to be running as much, but what a good price. We know what do you know what? He gets a little bit of stick for what he is as a passer, but he's actually a really good passer. So, if it plays one way, you can tell a story where the Falcons are leading and he's coming from behind, but you can tell another story where he's having to pass. The Falcons, on the whole, are pretty decent against the run. So maybe it does factor into that. I just think there's nothing more we'd love as a nation than to see Arthur Smith get absolutely plowed like he's in Fake Taxi or something. Just people are hating on him, and it's well deserved. So come on, Kyler, absolutely smash it. And speaking of smashing, we're going to come to the running backs, and this guy, he's not smashed yet, but I think his time is due.
Yeah, I just want to say with Kyler Murray, Call of Duty the new one is out this week. Kyler Murray's back this week.
Ooh.
Game on. But moving to running back, I've gone for two guys that have absolutely sucked this season for different reasons. But for many reasons, I like them for GPP because people are like, I don't want him in my lineup because he's not been very good. Tony Pollard, 7,300 versus the New York Giants. And these may be risky picks, but these are the picks that you want to make because people may be off them. I just think he could potentially reignite his season this week. There'll be plenty of doubt on it, but this is my guaranteed lock smash of the week, guaranteed to hit. Tony Pollard, you heard it here first. Look at last week. Josh Jacobs ran all over the Giants in week 9. He was the RB3 on the week. despite playing with an offense that featured Aidan O'Connell as the quarterback. The Giants, they're going to be rolling out Danny DeVito. It may as well be Danny DeVito because this is going to be an absolute battering. I googled Danny DeVito today. The first quote that came up was one of his most famous. Apparently, it says, "It's a cruel, cruel world." And yes, it is a cruel, cruel world. The poor Giants are going to smell blood. The Cowboys are going to smell Giant blood. And Pollard is going to smash it. I think DeVito turns the ball over and they're going to get so many scoring opportunities, the Cowboys, that Pollard is going to want to really kick off his season. And I can see 2 to 3 touchdowns total for Tony Pollard. So like that, 7,300. My next one is Bijan Robinson, $6,000. I mean, that is such a cheap price. I know that I'm going to ignore the quote that Arthur Smith came out with today, but $6,000 at the Arizona Cardinals, who can't stop any running back. Firstly, Arthur Smith, screw you. I could have said an expletive there, but I'm not going to. I just think also if Bijan doesn't get a rushing touchdown this week, then I think it's officially time to give up. But at the start of the season, I looked at the price and Bijan was $8,000. He's now dropped $2,000 in price to $6,000. Just think it's very, very affordable that you can fit him in your lineups. It's going to be Tyler Algier. It could even be Cordarrelle Patterson if he's healthy. But I think it's going to get a healthy pepper into Bijan Robinson because you may not be able to pass on the Cardinals, but you can certainly run on them. And just looking at his price, he's cheaper than Gus Edwards, who's playing against Cleveland. I prefer this Bijan Robinson against the 30th ranked defense in Arizona. I also think that now we talk about Arthur Smith. He is under considerable pressure from what happened lately, the last few weeks. We've had him change quarterback. He's then got humiliated against Josh Dobbs. I just think that he's now going to have to turn to his first round talent that he's got on his roster. Otherwise, I think the organization are going to be close to firing him if it carries on how it is. So this could be the change of something really special. Bijan Robinson, we know how good he is. At $6,000, that is a price where I'm willing to take a chance on Bijan because you can still fit in studs in your lineup.
Yeah, Arthur Smith, he's such an arsehole, and to be fair, like it's Movember and he's shaved his beard off. He's such a tit, honestly. But enough of it.
Danny DeVito's got another quote from one of his famous characters, Frank Reynolds, and it's "just throw me in the trash." I think that's what we need to do with Arthur Smith.
Absolutely love that. One guy we don't want to be throwing in the trash this week is Terry McLaurin at wide receiver, a guy that I'm targeting in GPP. He's 5,800. He's at the Seahawks. I think people are gravitating towards Dotson, who's had a couple of good games back to back. But McLaurin, he's been really close. We're looking for that 100-yard and a touchdown game. It's been close a couple of times. I think this is the week that it happens. Gino looking to bounce back after the morning they got against the Ravens. I think it's got the potential to be a shootout, and Terry's a guy that I think can really come to fruition this week. The alternate pick, apologise for my Michael Thomas selection last week. That one nearly as bad as my Brandon Cooks pick. But I'm going back to the Saints. Going back to the wide receiver core there, Rashid Shaheed, 4,300. They're at the Vikings. I think a couple of reasons. One, Derek Carr's been playing pretty good. Taysom Hill's been playing pretty good. If he's throwing passes, maybe he can launch one down the field as well. And then the third point is the astronaut himself, Josh Dobbs. He's the main man. He's getting so much love on social media, which I'm here for. So I think people are going to be on the Minnesota side. I think people are going to be in on the Saints side, but maybe it's not Shaheed. Maybe people think Olave because he scored a touchdown last week. So I think he's the sneaky leverage play at that spot. And then we're going to come to the flex spots in GPP. These guys have lived in the flex spots in our GPP show this GPP part of the show this season, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's not forget Rashid Shaheed, official sponsor of the Wildcard Rewind. Let's get that in as well, right? Before we forget. But my two flex spots, these names are familiar to the show. We've got, first of all, at 5,500, we got Tank Dell targeting that matchup once again against the Bengals. He's looked great. I mean, I thought he was going to look better than what people thought, but I didn't even think he would continue his his oddly sort of dominant persona that he's got. He's really good in the red zone, which he was in college, but he's kind of carried that through to the NFL, and we're seeing that more and more. So I think he should do really well up against that Bengals defense in what we expect to be a shootout. And then the next one, we talked about him on the Dynasty Show. He's still dirt cheap, 4,100. Give me Jackson Smith and Jigba there, 4,100, going up against a Commanders team that I expect the Seahawks to put up some points against that Commanders team. And just the way the trends are going, Jackson Smith and Jigba, his stock is on the rise. So this could be a perfect time to capitalize on that price while it is cheap and his stock rising at the same time. So I think he's good value there, 4,100.
Yeah, both of these guys, they're tiny in price, they're tiny in stature, but they've got plenty of size about what they can put in the box score for you this week. I think in terms of Dell, first of all, that's a matchup where we've been saying all this show, it's got the potential to really kick off, and he's someone that great price at 5,500. One of his highest prices, but you've seen he has these 25, 30-point games, which are massive if you can get that sort of output from your flex. And then JSN, 4,100, just seems to be a bit of a steal that you've mentioned on the Dynasty Show about the tides turning for the Seahawks player, which I thought was hilarious at the time with the planned call you made there. But JSN, he's the opposite to, he's like the bring back to Terry McLaurin, so that's an idea for this week, just not in the contests which I'm playing. Right, we're going to move on to tight end in tournaments, and I say tight end.
Ooh. Indeed. Well, let's go to the tight end one for the past 3 weeks. Taysom Hill, 5,100 at the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, he was the Saints' leading rusher on Sunday, 52 yards. He had 5 targets as well, 4 receptions, 13 yards, and a receiving touchdown. He also threw a touchdown pass. This should not be allowed at tight end, but it is. So let's just roll with it. 20.6 PPR points, tight end 3 on the week, tight end 1 the past 3 weeks. Yeah, he's averaging 20 points. So this is it. I found this on Twitter today from Scott Barrett at Scott Barrett DFB. Over the past 4 weeks, Taysom Hill has more rushing fantasy points than Alvin Kamara at Bijan Robinson, and more receiving fantasy points than Devontae Adams, DK Metcalf, and Calvin Ridley. That just shows he's just insane right now. So, and he's still only the 4th most expensive tight end on the slate. So I still think, even though he's had 4 absolute boom games in a row, I still think there's people doubting that that's going to come to an end sooner rather than later and is going to put up a dud. It could happen, but we're talking about this tournament where you've got to go all out. You need to win it or you're nowhere. So let's reach for the stars with Taysom Hill, 5,100, the 4th most expensive tight end on the slate. Really love that. Then we're going to go for the most expensive tight end on the slate, which is odd, but he's been almost the most consistent lately. Since week 4, he's really got his act together, averaging 17 PPR points per game. He's caught 5 touchdowns in that span. He also, a lot of people don't realize he had his biggest game of the season in Cleveland in that really tough matchup in week 4, 25 PPR points. And I just think people are doubting. They look at that Cleveland matchup. They look at him being the most expensive tight end on the slate, and they're going to be avoiding it and going down to Laporta and people like that. But that intrigues me about Mark Andrews. That's why I'm going to be in on him. You also look at Zay Flowers, and his role has actually diminished lately, which has been really sad to see. I really thought he was going to come on from his strong start, but it's been all Mark Andrews. It's been almost the old Mark Andrews that it was last year and dominating the past few years. Yeah, so I just think it's not going to be a popular play, but the ceiling is definitely going to be there for Mark Andrews to pay up at 6,900.
Yeah, I think both those guys are really interesting. Taysom Hill, he's like Marmite, and you love him or you hate him. He's someone that's got the crazy ceiling every week of the year. And then Mark Andrews, a guy that tough matchup. He had his biggest game when they played Cleveland early on this season. But I think what stood out to me about that is they played Cleveland when Dorian Thompson-Robinson was the QB. And it was a game that they was comfortably in control. I think the Browns will have a chip on their shoulder this week. I think it's a game which is in Baltimore, and I think they'll want to repay the favour. I think it's going to be that sort of game where we spoke about a few weeks back. You want to treat it as a playoff game and get the ball in your best players' hands. So I see lots of Lamar, lots of Mark Andrews this week. I think it's one of those type of games. Forget the matchup, play your studs, and if it means people see that little red rank next to what the matchup is, and it's going to put a couple of % off, jump in, make advantage, and take advantage of that. So I bigged up Mark Andrews there a little bit. I'm going to come to GPP DSTs and obviously talk about the Browns, who Mark Andrews is facing. It's all about telling different stories for how the game could go and what could happen. I just see that the Browns 3,000. It's a really solid middle of the pack price. That at Baltimore, which people are saying are the best team in football at the moment. I mean, yeah. They seem to be really popular. Maybe not got the best record, go Birds, but that's another story for another show. I think, the Browns, if you're looking at fantasy points scored from your DST, they're second to the Cowboys. And so you basically getting a 1,400 reduction on a team that's got a really similar range of outcomes to the Cowboys now. Yeah. When I say similar, I don't mean this particular week in the sense that the Giants and the Ravens are two completely different sides, but if things do go right for the Browns, they can put up a 10, 15-point game. We know they're absolutely rock solid in what could be a bloodbath if you're taking it that route. Other option at DST, I'm going for the Bengals, 2,800 against Houston, purely because CJ Stroud. I think people are going to be in on him. They'll put people off the Bengals, the shootout potential, lean into it a little bit and play that role. We've seen that Stroud's been solid overall, but it's still a work in progress O-line. And outside of that one monster game which you had this week, there's been some good performances, but not truly elite performances week to week. So that's a way you can lean into the variance and make a play there. To wrap up the show now, we're going to come to our picks of the week. These are the picks which we feel really confident about. Some of these are a little bit spicy, so let's just jump straight in, Mags.
Yes. I mean, how can you not pick this player? First of all, we spoke about him earlier. It is the absolute legendary Kyle Phillips, ladies and gentlemen. He is $3,000. Boys, he's cheaper than Nick Chubb.
It's about the same amount of points.
You got to stick him. 3,000 is literally as cheap as you can get. Last week he scored about 10 points, right? So he's tripling your investment there. He's coming off a game, 5 targets, 4 receptions, 68 yards. I think at 3,000 there, it's just brilliant. I can't wait to get him in my lineups.
That is so funny, Ali. What's your thoughts? I can't add anything to that. What's your thoughts on your pick, Ali?
Yeah. Let's swiftly move on, even though I secretly love that pick. It's been mentioned earlier in the show, but Jackson Smith and Jigba, 4,100. He's still slightly too cheap. He needs to be more expensive because he is now being worked into the offense and going up against the Washington Commanders, who've got to be, I think they are 100% top 5 worst against the wide receiver position. And a lot of their matchups have been shootouts. This could be one of them. Yeah, 4,100. I can see him giving you 10 to 15 points comfortably, and you being really happy with that.
Good stuff. I'm going to give my pick of the week. A guy, again, that's like your pick. He's going to come up on the show. Dalton Schultz at the Bengals. 2 ways I would play him. One is in cash. The other one is GPP as a bring back to anyone in who you fancy from the Bengals side, whether it be a Mixon, whether it be a T. Higgins, a Chase, if you want to get a little bit spicy, if he's maybe questionable. So they're 2 reasons I would sort of play Schultz this week, but cash seems to be the most popular route to jam him in. So thank you for tuning in. Be sure to follow us and subscribe on X and YouTube at Wildcard DFS and at Fantasy Wildcard. We do the show every Wednesday. Obviously, you know that because you're watching, but also we do our Moneymaker, our DFS Moneymaker. It's a $5 entry contest each week on DraftKings. We announce it towards the end of each week, Thursday, Friday. Please get involved. I've won the last two. Nobody wants to see me wearing the shades, the hat, the gown, the robe, the scepter, the chair. Nobody wants to see that. So please join in, beat me this week. But more importantly, thank you for joining us on the show. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and we will see